When was the last time you had a deep conversation about dating, finding a job, reaching our goals, and all the other intricate areas that make up our 20s? Every episode, I talk about these topics with real young adults who are living and learning along with the rest of us. If you want to hear how your peers are dealing with and conquering these areas of life, tune in. This is Building the Blueprint. Lexi Miller, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Nick. I'm happy to be here.
Tell me a little about yourself.
Okay, Lexi Miller. I'm from Bend, Oregon. I'm 22 years old and I'm studying entrepreneurship at the University of Oregon. I think the little extra bit to add about myself is I love skiing, and that's probably like a big passion of mine, as well as working out. So living an active lifestyle, something that I'm excited to talk about today.
Yeah, Lexi is one of the most kick-ass, smart women that I know, and I'm so excited to have her on this show. I'm also excited because we've known each other for a year, but we've never had like more than a 5-minute conversation, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to actually have a good long conversation with you.
Me too. It'll be good.
All right, let's start with fitness.
Okay.
What inspired your fitness journey, and how does that kind of impact whom you are?
That is a great question. And I've spent a lot of time rehashing this. So I think we'll start with back in high school. I've always played sports my entire life. That was a really important part of my childhood. Bend is a super outdoor town, so I was always in at least one sport. And in high school, I was playing lacrosse, but I was also pretty overweight. So I would say I was on the chunkier side.
Good.
And I didn't know when I was in high school. I remember that I went to the doctor one time and she told me, you're overweight. I'm perfectly fine. Yeah. And I really didn't realize it until my sophomore year of college when I moved into an apartment so I could cook for myself. And there was a gym downstairs. So I just started going all the time. My dad is also just a super athletic dude. He works out all the time. He's shredded and he's almost 60. And he had been telling me, you need to start lifting since I was 14. And I guess when I turned 20, I was just maybe I should start listening to him. So yeah.
Awesome. So how often do you go?
That's a really good question. It varies now. At my peak, I'm going 5 days a week.
Okay.
And 4 of those days are lifting. One of the days is cardio. Because I'm not built to be a runner or anything, but I can lift a good amount. So
yeah, you're telling me you were lifting Logan, our buddy, for 9 reps.
Yeah, he's 235, which is crazy.
That is crazy. You've got me beat, I think.
Dude, yeah. I didn't know that I could squat that much. So that was a little bit gnarly, but it was really fun. So
Favorite gym day?
Favorite gym day? Oh, that's a good question. I would say, can I answer this in 2 parts? Okay. So favorite day is probably pull, just because the ego boost about seeing your biceps in the mirror is crazy.
Bicep pump.
But the day that I feel the best leaving the gym, probably glutes, because I do push, pull, legs, glutes. And the reason why I separate legs and glutes is just because I think that I see better results that way. It's different for everybody, of course, but glutes, I just feel like $1 million walking out of the gym. Yeah, I did it. Yeah.
I'm the same. I love pull day. I do I'll do a chest and abs day.
Yeah, no, that's
just
fair.
because I enjoy that one. And that's probably my favorite day.
Mm-hmm.
I think I need to hit legs. I think hit legs probably 8 times in 2024.
No, that's fair.
Once a month almost.
Yeah.
But I'll get on it. But I do a lot of cardio. I do a lot of running.
That's good. Yeah.
Because I enjoy that. I don't enjoy it, but
yeah,
I like it better than legs.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. I think that's honestly really cool. I wish that I ran more. My cardio day, it's so funny because it's not a cardio day, but I do sprints, about 2 miles of sprints total.
Sprint walk.
No, I don't do sprint walk.
Sprinting 2 miles.
I'm on the treadmill in the rack because I could totally do it outside, but with how much it rains in Eugene, we've had such a dry winter. It's crazy. But with how much it rains, I normally just do inside. So I set 10 speed or above that, maybe no incline. And I go 40 seconds off, 40 seconds on. 5 times, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, 4 times, 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off, 3 times. And that's it. Yeah. And it equates to somewhat of 2 miles. It might be less than that. It might be more. I actually don't know. But I do that and then stair climber or the classic 12-3-30. Do you remember? Did you ever hear about this trend? Okay. Incline 12, speed 3, 30 minutes.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
And I'll do that afterwards and then core. Because people always say that you don't need to work out core if you're lifting correctly because you're engaging your core anyways, but it's all about results, right? In a way. Yeah.
Do you do weighted core stuff?
I don't, but I want to start using kettlebells and doing, I don't know what they're called, but when you start all the way on the floor and then you have to get up with holding
with the one arm up.
Yes. Yeah. I want to start doing it. So maybe one day.
As you know, getting into the gym is really hard. Like getting started.
Mhm.
What advice do you have for someone who wants to get into the gym and wants to go 5 days a week, but is just starting out and struggling?
Yeah, that's fair. I think that I've always heard that it takes 90 days to build a habit or something like that, and like 21 days to break it. So I think like for me, I set a plan. I also started an Instagram account, which like I have started an Instagram account for so much of the stuff that I've done in my life. But I like started one and I would just like post on there like what my workouts were going to be, what I was eating that day. And I had 16 followers, but it was like people who were holding me accountable.
Yeah.
So either find an accountability partner, make a plan, or go to the gym with somebody. I now don't prefer doing that unless it's like somebody I've worked out with previously and I know that they're lifting the same as me.
Yeah.
But if you have somebody that knows what they're doing in the gym, it's normally good to go with them so you don't hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I 100% agree. When I first started going, what kept me going was going with someone who was better than I was, like
Yeah.
who was stronger than I was and who was doing the 5 days a week,
Mhm.
because they wouldn't slack. And then they would pull me along with them.
Totally.
And like on my own, oh my gosh, I think I tried 5 times to get into the gym
Yeah.
before like on the 6th attempt of like, I'm going to go every week. Like
Mhm.
it finally worked, like I had those 5 burnouts.
Totally.
And also, I mean, you mentioned the 90 days.
Yeah.
For me, my whole thing, which comes from like, do you know Atomic Habits?
Mhm.
My whole thing is like trying to never break the chain, which means like never miss more than one day in a row.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's like 1 day is a mistake, 2 days is the start of a new habit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really try and like not, unless I'm traveling or like sick, like
Yeah.
try and never miss like more than a day off,
That's fair.
which helps me at least.
No, like I should take that advice, honestly, right now.
Yeah.
I've been trying to go to the gym more because I've put myself in an interesting position this term where I'm taking a rock climbing class and a Pilates class, but they're on the same day of the week and they're like almost back to back. And so I feel like I'm in the gym for like 3 or 4 hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I think. But then the rest of the week, I still need to remind myself, like, you actually need to go lift because like rock climbing and Pilates are not going to get you to where you want to be. Also, I feel like for me, I am in like my best shape in the spring because I work out so hard in the winter, because in the fall, I kind of fall off from where I was in the summer. Does that make any sense?
No, like you have to prepare for the summer that's coming up.
Yeah, exactly.
And then summer you're like just enjoying what you've created.
Totally. And like when the holidays pass and everything, and then you're like, okay, now I need to lock in. That's just what happens. Then the gym gets packed because everybody's like New Year's resolutions. But
my favorite is always like hearing like when it comes like April and May, they're like, oh, I'm going to start hitting abs, so I'm ready for summer. I'm like, no, that was in November and December when you had to start doing that.
Literally, like it's also not really that hard too, which like one of the things about growing up, and I'm sure you've realized it too, is like you start not caring about doing the little things. I know that when I was younger, my mom would ask me to take out the trash. And of course I would do it, but there was a little bit of an attitude. And I remember one day she told me, one day you won't care about doing the little things. And I was like, that sounds like a challenge. I feel like from a little bit of a younger age, I've tried to really not care about, I don't know, starting habits and just trying to get the little things done. But yeah, it relates back to just go to the gym, get on your floor, do an ab workout, 10 minutes. Like it's better than doing nothing.
Yeah.
Walk around your house, get up.
Yeah. What I tell my friends who are just getting started is like, go to the gym for 2 weeks every single day, but you can't be in the gym for more than 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Like you've seen that before where it's like just the habit of going is actually more important. What I always tell people is like the difference between a bad workout and a great workout is smaller than the difference between no workout and a bad workout.
Yeah, that's so true.
Right.
I think another thing that I've heard of before, I haven't done this, so maybe I'll try it someday, but you like almost give yourself a reward. So you go X amount of days and then like you get to buy like a new little workout set or a new like whatever water bottle. And then you're like, okay, I have a little reward.
System.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Which like, I do not have the funds as a college student to do that, but someday.
What we do is a punishment system. We do the opposite. So my friend group we were doing last term was there were 6 of us and we do new teams every week and it teams of 2.
Yeah.
And then like, let's say we're a team and I go to the gym 5 days, you go 5 days. That's 10 points.
Okay.
Whatever team has the worst points spins a wheel. And like you have to like jump in the river, like give flowers to like a neighbor in like our apartment. So anyway.
That's hilarious. I need to tell you a little story real quick. Please excuse my lack of football knowledge, but Gabe is a Ravens fan and Kieran is a Bills fan. Is that correct? Okay, perfect. They played each other?
Yes.
Okay. Before they played each other, they made a bet that whoever's team lost, the loser had to sit in front of Lilith's at a lemonade stand and sell $100 worth of lemonade before they could leave. And I actually don't know if they're going to do it.
Hope that happens. So Gabe has to go sell lemonade.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I know. And he can't leave until he makes $100.
That's really good.
And I asked him, I was like, are you going to price the lemonade at like $100? You just need to sell one. And he was like, no, I don't think I can do that. So I'm like watching out for a $2 lemonade. He's just sitting outside of Lilith's. Would be awesome.
Please tell me when it happens.
Okay, I will.
I will show up.
Yeah, don't worry. Marketing materials incoming.
Koa has to do an industry report.
Oh,
or Koa has to do an industry report.
Okay.
Because he lost fantasy football.
Oh.
So what we're thinking, everyone in the league's going to make a slide,
mm-hmm.
and then he doesn't get to see the presentation until he gets up to give it.
Okay. Is the fantasy team, are y'all like all OCG people? Or?
Yeah, it was an OCG league.
Dude, you should just come back for seminar and make him present it to the entire group.
That's what I'm hoping will happen.
Okay, good.
That's what I want
That's awesome.
I would love that.
That'd be amazing. Yeah.
One of the hardest parts about being young, especially being in college, I'm sure it also applies once you're out of college, is like nutrition.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you want to talk about nutrition.
I love talking about nutrition. Okay. So I got introduced to nutrition a little bit, like I would say halfway into my sophomore year. I just started surrounding myself with people who actually knew how to cook and knew how to read ingredient labels, which is crazy. Didn't know you're supposed to read those things back then.
Yeah.
Or just like prioritizing protein, what that actually means for your body and building muscle. Changed my world a little bit because I cooked like straight from a cookbook. Like I was just like, it says 1 tablespoon of butter. I do 1 tablespoon of butter. I didn't really think about the content of what food is made up of. And so I took a nutrition class this past fall. Super interesting. Highly suggest any U of O students to take that class. But I just got like all wrapped up in cooking and what's healthiest for me, especially for like longevity purposes. I have 2 grandfathers that are alive right now. Love them. But they are...
Shout out grandpas.
Shout out grandpas. They are actually killing it. Both of them are over 80 now. They've both gone through multiple surgeries, health issues, but yet they are so on it. They're still with it. And to be that age and to still have so much to share with like grandkids and stories and all of it, I want to be like that at my old age. And I really don't want what I'm putting into my body to stop me from being able to do that.
Yeah, I agree. Now that you say that too, my oldest grandpa who's 90.
Wow.
But he still looks like he's 55.
That's awesome.
And now that I think about
That's the goal.
He's a phenomenal cook.
Really?
He cooks everything for like all the family stuff.
Awesome. Mm-hmm.
And I've never thought about that correlation that deeply.
Yeah.
But that's definitely got to be a part of it.
Totally.
He is a great cook.
Yeah, I think
eats good food.
Exactly. When you know how to cook and you can eat good food like that, it just opens up all these new doors for you. And also, I think the dream for me is to have a garden someday. For sure. Not just a little garden, a big garden.
Okay, a legit garden.
A legit garden. I want flowers too. I want the whole thing. That's a huge dream of mine.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm a college student and all I do is eat takeout and frozen food,
yeah.
Like what's one food or one thing I can start doing to eat a little better?
There's so many things that you could do to eat better. Can I say multiple? Beautiful. Okay, we're going to start with Trader Joe's because Trader Joe's is low-key slept on, in my opinion. It's a cheaper grocery store than like your Safeway or whatever, but that's because they get like the last pick of produce. So their produce may not be the best, but Trader Joe's has this like, I guess, dedication to not putting like a bunch of artificial coloring or flavoring in their food. And so just go to the frozen section at Trader Joe's and grab like literally anything, and it'll most likely be better than like whatever you're buying from Safeway, honestly.
The other frozen
food, which like not 100% of the time, but like typically it's pretty good, especially like if you're buying things that are mostly protein, like your soup dumplings that have all the chicken in them, or like your beef and broccoli or whatever they sell. And then something else that I would do is meal prep if you have the means to do it, like the time and everything. Because I think that a lot of people go to fast food or to frozen food because it's fast and easy, of course. But if you start meal prepping, like I meal prepped at the beginning of this week. It's like Saturday now, right? I still have food. I'm going to go grocery shopping tomorrow. That food just lasted me 7 days. And it was like 2 giant meals that I made. So
don't know what meal prepping is. What is meal prepping?
Okay. So meal prepping is at the beginning of the week, you buy enough food to last you for the rest of the week, basically. So for example, at the beginning of this week, I bought a bag of pasta, a bunch of veggies, some chicken, and in one night, I made all of it. I didn't just do one dinner. I prepped dinner and I put it in little Tupperware containers for the entire week. And then every day during the week, I'll just reheat that food. And you can find so many resources online, but the classic one is doing like chicken and rice and like a veggie. That's like the gym bro one.
Yeah, I can attest to that.
Yeah, exactly. It's also really fast and pretty easy, but you don't get all of the added things in it that is going to cause health issues and like chronic disease down the line. That's what I suggest.
Great. Literally, I was joking with my brother. I was like, I'm unintentionally getting really fit because all I eat is rice and meat.
Dude, that's
but
awesome.
It's also just the easiest.
Yeah.
Like I'll make 4 cups of rice and that lasts me like 3 days. Right. So I just heat up rice and I just make a pound of beef or like a pound of chicken or a pound of salmon. And like, it's just easy. It tastes good. I'll put like an egg or 2 on it.
No, that's perfect.
And it works really well.
Yeah, that actually sounds really good. I always forget that you can put eggs on meat and it's actually fantastic. I don't know why I forget that.
I'll make them like over easy. So like it's totally like if you're okay with the yolk because it goes into the rice.
That's so good.
It's nice.
I have gotten more complex with my meals lately. So I made the stuffed pita situation this past week where I just made the filling and then I had the pita and I kind of stuffed it.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then I also made, have you heard of like Marry Me Chicken? Okay, it's like a TikTok recipe on just how to make chicken. Yeah. But basically I did that, except I did the mushroom version. So it's like Marry Me mushrooms. And it's just this TikTok recipe that I found and I just made it in a gigantic batch. Yeah.
Nice. Is there anything you think most people get wrong about either weightlifting or nutrition?
I'll start with weightlifting. Number one is when you're new and you're in the gym, you are looking at everyone because you're like, what are they doing? How can I do that? But you need to recognize that like the people that have been there and are going to the gym for a long time are not looking at you. And a lot of people get really scared of being perceived in the gym. And like, you just need to like, not worry about it. Honestly,
I couldn't agree more. 100%.
Yeah. Like you were there to do your thing. They are there to do their thing. And there's just a lot of gym etiquette that comes with that, but don't worry about being perceived.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. When I first started going, it was like, oh, everyone's judging me because I'm only benching the bar. Yeah. But it's like, well, no, when you start going a lot and you see new people, like my first thought at least is like, oh, good for them. Like I'm excited to see them in here.
Yeah.
Like, unless you're like the new year, me, like holding, like if you're hoarding 20 dumbbells, then I might be upset.
Totally.
That's the only case.
No, yeah.
Otherwise, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah. Actually, cool thing that happened the other day. So there are people in my life who have taught me how to weightlift and I haven't really had the same opportunity to teach someone else. Friends have been like, oh, can we go to the gym together? It lasts a couple of days. And then they're like, which is totally fine. It wasn't there. But the other day I was in the gym and there was this girl about my height. And then there was this guy, I'm 5'4" for reference. There's this guy that's like 6'2" and he's trying to teach her how to squat. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, she doesn't even understand where his hips are like hinging. Nothing is making sense right now for like how she's supposed to go down. And he was giving her pointers, but low-key there were pointers on the wrong things. And so I went up to her and I was just like, hey, if you don't want any advice, I can walk away. But if you do want me to help you out, I'd love to teach you how to squat. And she was like, oh my God, thank you. I would love your help. So appreciative. And I just gave her a few pointers. And I swear it was like after the first one, she got it, but she was just looking up. So her back was curving and it shouldn't have been. And it was just really cool to go up to a stranger and be like, hey, can I help you out? And feel confident enough, my own knowledge on how to weightlift, that I could just help this random person.
Came full circle.
It really did. It was awesome. I watched my dad do it one time. There was a guy who was doing calf raises and you're supposed to do them really controlled, right? And this kid's like pushing the thing really fast. And my dad went up to him and was like, dude, you're not doing that right.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to come full circle and be like, whoa, now I can teach somebody. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to career.
Okay.
Tell us about your career journey.
Gosh, okay.
And everything you jump between.
Oh, okay. A little bit of a long journey, which is crazy to say because I'm only 22, but I have been working since I was 16, maybe 15, I believe. I'm not going to start that far back, but in high school, I was working in restaurants. So a lot of that work. When I got into college, when I started my freshman year, I got an internship with a home developer called Hayden Homes. It's a good family friend of mine. That's how I got the connection. And honestly, your network is everything, which I know you know. But the guy that I had the connection with was able to get me this internship. And it was a sales internship in a way where I was basically going to be an assistant to just like everybody in the office. So whatever they didn't want to do, they could just have me do. So I did all kinds of really cool things, like interacting with these people that were making these gigantic life purchases. And I'm 18 years old. And I'm like, no, yeah, you should buy this house because da-da-da.
Yeah, so the 18-year-old.
Exactly. Like I definitely had imposter syndrome, which I've had throughout my entire career. But I think it really did start in this first internship. And then at the same time, I was actually working as like an events associate in a way. There was this company called Bigo, you know them. And they have a clean energy drink, which is like my favorite energy drink on the market. Shout out Bigo. They're awesome. And I was working events for them. So that was like my other side job during the summer is I would go to these grocery stores and set up. And do you know the brand Siete by any chance? Okay. So Siete was just bought by Pepsi. They were a family run and owned business. And I actually met Siete when they were first starting, like one of their sons that was running the company. And it was crazy to see how fast they blew up. And I got to try one of their cookies, like when they were first launching. And it was a pretty awesome experience because like they don't know that I'm following their brand, right? To have that kind of brand connection was pretty cool. Anyways, moving on with my career.
Where you go, they just blow up.
Seriously,
Companies
what
need to
is
hire
my
Lexi.
effect? My sophomore year, and you remember this correctly, when I was a sophomore, I got an internship doing Excel modeling for AT Industrial, which is like commercial and industrial real estate modeling and financial modeling on Excel.
Which, by the way, the amount of internships you've gotten is insane.
It's a little bit nuts. And I might forget one or two here and there, honestly. But I was working for AT Industrial, which was incredible. I loved the experience, but at the time I was a creative that was forcing myself into a super numbers driven, analytical, you are going to be an econ minor box. And it took this internship for me to be like, why am I doing that? I don't want to do that. I honestly was under the impression that's how you're going to make money is to deal with money. So that's why I went down that route. And then that next year, like my junior year was a awakening for me. It was when I joined the consulting group and when I joined the entrepreneurship group. And then I also got my next internship at Anthropologie. So my junior year, I was one of 100 out of 10,000 applicants to get a job or an internship at Anthropologie for the summer. Thank you. Honestly, I still can't believe that I did it. It was one of the most amazing experiences that I've ever had. The girls that I lived with made that experience 1,000 times better. It was just like the sweetest house full of the most supportive people. We were all doing the internship together. And we drive into work every day. We get our coffees. I felt like I got a taste of what working at a real job looks like. My team was also incredibly supportive. And there was a girl on my team who's they're based in Philadelphia and she's from Portland and I know the high school she went to. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I learned so much there. And that was really when I got to learn I can be a creative and make money and do well for myself. And I don't need to be like forced to deal with numbers all day long. It was also incredible because it was all female leadership, basically. The guy who like opened Anthropologie and all of the other stores is a man, but like almost everybody else is a woman. It's 90% female or something like that, maybe over that. So it's crazy to just be like walking into work with a bunch of women every day.
Yeah.
And now as a senior, still on the job hunt, I've decided that I really want to go into brand marketing or experiential marketing because I love creating feeling for customers. I love creating experiences for them. I love when they connect with a brand's identity. I think all of the psychology behind it is so cool. And of course, the creative piece of it, like how you get to shape that brand for the consumer. That's where I'm headed. Oh my gosh. And my biggest one that I totally forgot. In August of 2023, after that AT Industrial internship was over, I actually started my own business, which is crazy because I think about it now as just like a part of me and not really a part of my career journey.
Yeah.
Okay, I am a virtual executive personal assistant. Title's a little bit long. Basically what I do is I have 4 clients within the health and wellness industry. Currently, I'm at 3. My plan or like my structure is that I don't want my clients to be with me forever. I want to get them set up so that they can do things on their own. So I want them to cycle through with me. But the really good thing about that is I haven't had to do any marketing for what I do. It's all been through referrals. But what I do for them is anything from like social media management to website design. I wrote 800 pages of Pilates manuals and edited them and formatted them in 13 hours. And it was nuts.
Wow.
Yeah. It was while I was in Philly too, working for Anthropologie. It was like a Sunday.
Anyone needs an executive assistant.
Yeah. I love my clients. I do anything for them. I order address labels. Like it's anything from personal to professional for them. But the health and wellness industry just fell into my lap a little bit. It was awesome because it aligns with my values.
Yeah. So you want to keep doing that once you start your official career out of college, do you think?
That's a good question. I think that with the 4 clients that I have right now or 3, I will continue helping them for as long as they need me to help them. But I've discussed if they need help, I'm there. If they don't need help, I'm good to keep going with my career. I actually did a project in college where I was trying to scale that business and see how feasible it was. And after doing that project, I realized I did not want to scale what I'm doing. I love it for now. And it's like the perfect job to have in college because I make my own schedule. I'm building like client relationships. I am getting all of this amazing experience. And it's funny because a lot of people ask me like, how did it get started? What did you do? And quite honestly, I have a cousin who decided to not go to college. And he is working for this company that's all about social media growth. And he's working on the client side of things or the customer side of things. And he is just killing it, living in Calabasas with some of his best friends. And I'm just like inspired by him. He's the only other family member that I have that's like around my age. Everybody else is pretty young or pretty old. And he inspired me. So honestly, one day I got on TikTok and I like looked up jobs for college students, virtual jobs for college students, remote jobs for college students. Like I was just like running through the list and I came across the personal assistant thing and was like, I could do that. And I went on a walk with my friend's mom out of the blue, not really to talk about this, but just to pick her brain a little bit. And she said, if you actually want to do this, I'll be your first client. And she's gotten me 2 of my other clients that I've had. So it's been an incredible journey from there. But yeah.
Kind of mentioned in anthropology, right? It was primarily women peers.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about your experience being in male-dominated industries, especially, you're an OCG, which is probably 75% male.
Yeah.
I know this is a topic we were going to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. I guess I will start with OCG being, I think actually we're more like 90%, maybe 80% male at this point. Yeah. Just because we had a few girls leave in the winter for various reasons, like study abroad or graduating. Anyways, it's been a journey for sure. Men and women communicate so differently. And one thing that I've learned through college is there's a lot of things that you wouldn't realize are misogynistic or you wouldn't realize are said in a derogatory way. And they might not even mean to, but it's like something you need to keep an eye out for. And I think the biggest thing that I've tried to do in college, especially being an OCG, I'm on the leadership team and it's 5 guys, 2 girls. And my counterpart, Jess, is the sweetest thing in the world. I absolutely love her. And it takes both of us to stand up every now and then. There's been one-off comments. I love those guys. They know this. There have been one-off comments from some of them, and I've checked them on it. Like, you need to be confident in being able to stand your ground and say, that's not okay. You can't say that to me or something like that. Because quite honestly, I didn't know about all of this when I came into college. So how the hell is a guy going to know about all of this? So sometimes you just need to, I don't know, show him his boss a little bit.
Yeah, stand your ground a little bit.
Yeah.
Put him in their place from time to time.
Exactly. And not in a rude way at all. But sometimes I'll give an example. Gosh, there's so many that I could give. But I'm actually going to give an example of a time that I didn't stand my ground.
Okay.
This happened recently, and I won't name names, but you know who you are. Recently, we were interviewing for OCG, and we have an Excel sheet where we have all of the questions and everything written out. And there was a banner for the case room that was brown. And then there was a banner for the behavioral room that was blue. I was in the case room. And I go, God, I hate that the case room banner is brown. Without a breath, a pen couldn't even drop that fast. My counterpart goes, what do you want it to be? Pink? And my jaw was on the floor. Like, I was actually so stunned because it came from somebody that I never thought would say something like that to me. And it was with so much sass and confidence that not only was my jaw on the floor, but the other person in the room, the third person, also had their jaw on the floor. And I think that based on how well they know me, they thought that I would get mad or I would be heated about it. But it's really important to pick your battles. And that one was said in such like a funny, it wasn't actually said in a funny, lighthearted way, but it was meant to be perceived that way. And I decided to go along with the joke with that one, let it go a little bit. And that's a really light example. That is something that you don't need to get in an argument over. But yeah.
It's an interesting dynamic of, especially when guys get close to each other, of like messing with each other, that I can definitely see happening when they get close to females where they like go for that like kind of pretty rude joke that like they can get away with their buddy. But it's like, well, hold on. Like,
totally.
Don't say it.
Yeah, exactly. I think there is, you said it, they can get away with a pretty rude joke, especially in a business setting. It's just important to remember where you stand. Also, with men and getting more secure in their relationship with women and like talking to them, one thing that happens a lot of the time that I see is 2 people will be talking like this. And you're doing a great job of it. But most of the time, men will start talking over women a little bit just because they're the louder person in the room. And one of the things that I've really admired from my counterparts on the leadership team is they are so good at recognizing when the girls in the room are talking or when the people who don't talk all the time are trying to speak up and prioritizing what they need to say. And that's something that I really hope to have in wherever I go on to next. Because the leadership team that I have right now is probably the best team that I've ever been on. And I think it'll be pretty tough to beat. So, yeah.
It's definitely a sign of security too, right? Like you can tell when someone's talking way too much.
Yeah.
Like they kind of need to control the room and not very secure.
Definitely.
And it's also something you learn at OCG, right? Is like to like help any like male or female, the person who's not speaking, like help them get into the conversation, like be a listener.
Yeah, exactly. I think really hard to be a listener lately because I'm a talker. And so I will talk a million miles a minute for 2 hours to a brick wall. Like I could carry a conversation with anybody pretty much, but not in a flattery way, just facts.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've had to realize being on a leadership team of 7, including myself, is you need to be quiet sometimes. And your opinion does not need to be stated. And just sit back, wait for somebody else to talk. I'm still working on it, but it's one thing that I've gotten a lot of feedback on this year. Yeah.
Is there anything that men can do to support their female coworkers and, you know, in those settings? What you mentioned one is, you know, be quiet sometimes.
Be quiet. Yeah. Lift them up. I think that women inherently are going to be quieter. And when they're in a male dominated space or they are a introvert and they're in a extrovert dominated space, they're going to sound like they are unsure about their ideas. They're going to be a little bit quieter. Not all women, but just in general, this is what happens. And I think that men honestly just need to raise their EQ and understand that women, they're not going to act like what you expect them to act like. And be careful about the feedback that you give them, I would say. I got feedback very recently that said something similar to, Lexi is a boss, but it's not at its full extent. So I'm going to rate her a 4 out of 5 here. Or, yeah.
Okay.
And then I also got feedback recently that said, you need to make sure that when you are talking in leadership meetings, that you don't shut down in the meeting because it restricts your counterparts from, what's the word, collaboration. And I remember reading that, and it's really tough when you get one-way feedback and then you don't get the chance to discuss it. And most of the time we do, but sometimes we don't. And with that in particular, the reason why I and a lot of other people, not only women, shut down is because you say something nice or you don't say anything at all. And honestly, sometimes it's just like you need to stop talking or else you're not going to like what I have to say next. And I'm not going to like that I said it. I'm not trying to stop any collaboration, but I'm trying to be careful because it's still a business setting and not want to hear what I have to say.
It sounds like to me, biggest thing is awareness, like awareness of what's everyone's perspective. How are they feeling? How am I coming off as, you know, when is the right time to talk? When is the right time to ask someone else to come to the conversation? When should I say this thing that's challenging someone? When should I be like, all right, it's not worth it?
Yeah, exactly.
Like just general awareness and EQ, like you were saying.
EQ is so important. And honestly, you're never taught that it's important. You're just supposed to learn it either through the home or through school, through peers. But it's something that I think a lot of people either lack or more dangerously think that they have and they don't. Self-reflection is pretty important for understanding if you actually have a pretty good EQ or not.
I talked about this a lot with Cameron, who was on last episode, and about EQ and like, how do you even develop it?
Yeah.
And I'm curious your perspective of where do you think your EQ comes from? And then how can other people who feel like maybe they don't have it start to develop it?
Yeah. I think the most important thing for me has been, and this is also a great place for people to start, surrounding yourself with different people from different backgrounds, with different ideas. That's the starting spot. And then asking for feedback. So many people just go into rooms and they act the same way in room A as they do B, as they do C. And there can be entirely different people in those rooms. So it's important to ask for feedback. And it doesn't have to be all structured, but just say, hey, Nick, this was a great podcast. Is there anything that you think that I could have done better when answering your questions today? Do you feel like I was thorough? Something like that. And it doesn't need to be like, here, fill out this form.
It's a Google Sheet.
Yeah, exactly. But just like talking with people that are not in the same situation as you. I grew up in Bend, Oregon, on the west side of Bend. Basically, everybody grows up with what looks like a very similar family. Mom and dad, 2 kids, maybe you have a dog.
Family.
Everyone's white. That's just how it is in Bend. And coming to Eugene and honestly, getting the influx of people from Portland and people from California just made my mind open. Does that make any sense?
Yeah,
I was
whoa.
just like, there's this entire world that I didn't know about. And all of these, honestly, these things revolving respect and once again, EQ and just knowing who you are in the space that you're in and recognizing like how you should act and honestly, how you're probably going to be perceived. I know a lot of people talk about how they don't want to be perceived, but it's important to think about that just because it's important for what people think of you. I mean, somebody says that people never forget how you treat them, right? So it's important to think about the effect that you're having on people.
People don't remember what you say. They remember how you made them feel.
Thank you. Yeah, that is the quote.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably my biggest piece of advice.
I want to wrap up the episode talking about relationships, both romantically and platonically.
Yeah.
And my first question is, how do you and your friends support each other? Because I think there's an interesting contrast of, at least from my perspective, like women are much better at supporting each other in their friendships than men are. And I'm curious if there's any insights that young men could get from the way you and your friends behave with each other.
Yes. I have one little piece of insight, and I think that a lot of women will agree with this, honestly, but women have mastered the art of the debrief. And I don't think that men have mastered it. And I honestly don't even know if they want to. But as far as supporting your friends, I actually think that so much of your knowledge about how your friends are doing, how different things in their life affected them, what they might be thinking, feeling in their day-to-day comes from the debrief. And the debrief is typically after you go out with your friends for a night and you come back and in the morning, everybody wakes up and everyone's so excited because they're like, what did you do last night? I only saw you for 30 minutes. Where did you end up? And it's a beautiful thing. We did it this morning at my house and you all just get to sit in bed together. And I'm sure guys won't do this, but you do get to all sit in bed together and just rehash everything that happened and support each other in such a way that is so beautiful. For example, in college, it's really common to go out to a bar and see an ex-boyfriend. And during that debrief in the morning, you might have not been around any of your friends that entire night, but then you can go sit on the bed and you can say, I saw my ex-boyfriend last night and it made me feel X, Y, and Z. And then you have all these people around you that are supporting you. And with men, from what I've seen, it's more like go out to the bar, see your ex-girlfriend, and you come back, go to sleep, wake up in the morning. Maybe you see your roommate on the way to the bathroom and you're like, saw my ex-girlfriend last night. He's like, damn. And you just keep going about your day. And
accurate. It's pretty accurate.
And your roommate, your best friend, whoever does not know how that situation made you feel. And I also think that actually contributes heavily to EQ since we were on that topic.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's how you learn too.
Yeah, exactly. You need to talk to your friends in order to be able to support them.
Yeah. That's also you figure out like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that last night. Or you're like, oh, I did that. And I didn't realize like that was actually probably a good thing that I did that and learning and reflecting.
Totally.
That we definitely don't do that.
It's okay. I've recognized there was one time, I think that a friend, it was a guy, he broke up with his girlfriend. No one knew for a month. And I hadn't seen him. We were more distant friends. And I remember that I went up to him and I was like, hey, like, how are you and so-and-so? And he's like, oh yeah, we broke up. And I was like, no way. How long ago? And he's, oh, a month ago. I go and see his best friend the next day. And I go, dang, it's so sad that he broke up with his girlfriend. And he goes, what? They broke up? And I was like, how the hell do you not know that? And I know that. And anyways, back to the point of just talking to people in order to learn more about them.
I agree. Like that's something where it's like, if the friends that you're around, like if like, you know, when that happens and it's like my friends that are here will hear about it and know about it because like I'm with them that night or like it just happens. I talk to them about it. Like, like my friends back home, like I don't call them and be like, hey, this happened. Right. Cause it's just like, it doesn't feel natural, I guess, or not common. And so, like 3 months go by and they're like, how are you and so-and-so? You're like, oh, we're not actually together anymore. They're like, what?
Yeah.
So I agree. Reflection, getting used to that.
Totally.
Very important.
Yeah. Can I tell you something really adorable real quick? Okay. I have a best friend. Her name's Julia. Shout out Julia. Best girl in the entire world. She is my best friend of over 10 years, maybe over 11 years now. And we have yet to actually start doing this fully. But what we've done is we bought each other journals. And she lives in Colorado. We've always been long distance best friends. We've hardly ever lived in the same city for a significant amount of time together. And we write in those journals, or at least we try to every now and then. And we write in the present moment the same way that you would in any journal. You just write about your life or whatever's going on, whichever way you like to journal. Maybe there's prompts. And then when we see each other, we switch journals. Yeah. So right now I'm writing in that journal and I'm just rehashing a lot of my thoughts and feelings around what's been happening lately. And I know that someday I'll be able to give that journal to her. And even though we may not do the full recap in person, she'll have that in writing and I'll have whatever's happening in her life in writing, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you. Yeah.
I might have to start doing that.
Please do. I'm actually really excited to see her. We're trying to plan a little spring break trip. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What's one relationship lesson that you've learned that you think everybody should know?
Wow. I think that my most important relationship lesson is probably patience. I was going to say listening, but I'm going to start with patience because they're equally important. They feed into each other, in my opinion. But I was not a patient person growing up. I was known to not be a patient person. And getting into some of my previous relationships, being patient with the person that you're in the relationship with is so important because as somebody who operates on a level similar to how you do, I'm sure, where you're running at 1,000,000 miles a minute, you're just speeding through life in a way that a lot of other people aren't. And I'm sure you've been given feedback to slow down a little bit.
A lot of times I've forgotten my key and I've called my roommates like literally twice a week.
No, yeah, I'm the same way. I leave and I'm like, I'm forgetting something. And then I'm like 30 minutes later, dang it, my food's at home. Like it's something.
I left my ramen in the microwave for an hour.
Dude, what?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I put it on and I left and I forgot about it.
Yeah, no, and that's just what happens. And for example, for you and I, for people that are running at 1,000,000 miles a minute, we can think, dang it, I forgot my ramen at home or whatever. And then you call your significant other and you're like, hey, could you drop me off my ramen? Like lunch is coming up. I don't have time to run home. And the amount of patience that person has to have to recognize like, you did not do this on purpose. You were not interrupting their day in like a negative way to be like, me, can you do something for me? Like, in almost like twisting that reality to be like, I get to go do something for her or for him. Like I get to go do something for that person that is going to make my day better because I get to see them quickly and I'm helping them out. So you really have to switch your mindset from being like a taker to a giver in a way. And having the patience to make that change is tough because it does not happen overnight. And there are days when you are busy and the other person is busy and there can be resentment, and fighting through that resentment is very important in my opinion. And then also just touching on listening real quick. Just because I am inherently a talker and not a listener, it is, I would say, equally important to remember to take time, especially like once again, as people who are busy, to take time for the other person in your life and really sit down and listen to them. And I think one thing that's really big for people like us is to reflect on what your person is feeling or what they're saying. Because I know for us, and I don't want to speak for both of us, but for people like us, sometimes it can be not in one ear and out the other, but in one ear and maybe like 3 days later out the other.
I agree. Yeah.
And sometimes it just takes like reflection to remember what they're saying and why it's important. So those have probably been the two biggest lessons I've had to learn being in relationships. I'm so grateful for them because they make me better in every kind of way.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
We have a closing tradition on this podcast.
Oh, okay.
Which comes directly from my favorite show, The Diary of a CEO, in which the last guest leaves a question for the next guest, not knowing whom they're leaving a question for.
Wow. Okay. That's exciting.
And the question that has been left for you is, how does one live life to the fullest?
Wow. That is such a great question. I have been battling with that one as my 22-year-old because you're in such a formative place where you make those decisions, like how your life is going to look. And I think that how do you live life to the fullest would probably, for me, and honestly, it's not the same for everyone, but for me, it's balance, quite honestly. I know that I feel at my best when my life is balanced and when I'm prioritizing my work just as much as my social life, just as much as like my personal ambitions. And I'm making sure that there's nothing in my life that I feel like is getting cast aside. And if there is something that I feel like is getting cast aside, then it is genuinely put in the box that's shoved to the back of the corner. And when I have the time, I'll dig it back out. But I don't ever want to be like half focused on something. So that's probably how I think you're living life to the fullest. And of course, like the classic answer is surrounding yourself with the people that you love and doing the things that you love and all of that. But I think people know that. I think that, love is pretty important for living your life to the fullest. Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you. This has been wonderful.